Hello everybody! Today is a bittersweet day for me because I'm going to say goodbye to the LED lights that I have on my gaming setup. If you haven't seen this setup before, in a nutshell, it's a bunch of game consoles that are set up and ready to be played. I strung up these LED lights long ago, and with these remote controls, I can tell them to do different things. I can tell them to change colors, I can change the brightness, I can make them flash and make them strobe and do all kinds of things. And like I said, in this video, I am going to remove all the LED lights that you see here from this setup for good. If you're new to the channel, I do these kind of videos from time to time where I make changes to my video game setup and I take you along with me as I do it. So you must be wondering why I am removing the LED lights. Well, I have a ton of reasons. Reason one is they're not practical. They're too bright to have on when I'm playing a game. And long after I leave the room, I am still seeing those lights. They are burned into my retina for like half an hour. It's probably not good to do that to my eyes. Reason two is that they don't do what I want them to do most of the time. Sometimes they refuse to come on at all, like this strand here, which have decided for this moment in the video not to come on, but they did come on earlier in the day. Sometimes they show a different color than what I'm telling them to show, and sometimes they blink when I haven't told them to blink. This may be operator error, but the bottom line is they're hard to work with. Reason three is that when I turn them all on, it sometimes causes the circuit breaker to trip. This happened once when I was recording something in the game room years ago, but I could not find the old video file. I don't want that to happen when I'm in the middle of a game. I might lose progress or something like that. There's just too many of these lights and they draw too much electricity. I just went a little bit overboard when I initially set them up. You might say, why don't you turn down the brightness? Even on their lowest level, it's too bright because there's too many of them. Reason four is something you have to listen to understand. I'm going to bring the camera in close and set it near the top of the setup and just have a listen. What you're hearing is buzzing coming from these lights. It comes from the power bricks that power them. They appear to be cheap Chinese products. I don't like the noise, and it also makes me fear that these things might catch on fire one day. Reason five is that when the lights are off, I have this white strip that goes all around the setup, and it's kind of tacky looking. I know a lot of people hate the chrome look of this room. I don't agree with that, but the white strip does not make it look any better. It has an adhesive on it, and that adhesive catches cat hair and all kinds of dirt and stuff. And in some parts of the setup, it droops down, and it just looks weird. And the final reason is that these lights take up a lot of space within a setup that is already crammed with stuff. There's IR receivers, and there's the power supplies and the plugs that lead to the power supplies. I have those things just hanging all over the place and tucked everywhere. It takes 21 buttons on the rack mount power supply to light them all up, and I may want those buttons for something else in the future. So why did I install these lights in the first place? I thought it would just enhance the overall look of this setup. That's pretty much my only motivation. I thought it would take it to the next level. These are sold from Amazon, and each one includes a tiny remote. And I bought and installed most of them in 2017. And in 2020, I installed some more when I expanded the setup. I ended up buying 17 rolls total. Some of them malfunctioned and had to be thrown out, but each roll came with a remote control, which means somewhere in this house, I have 17 remotes. And there's actually two different kinds. Since I bought different rolls at different times, there's different remotes. And I have to use both of them to turn everything on. You might think that one remote would work for all the lights. It doesn't work that way. If I push the blue button on one remote, it may cause some of the lights to actually turn green or something like that. I have to point different remotes to different spots in the setup to get it to do what I want it to do. And that's why sometimes I get the wrong colors or get flashing when I don't want flashing and stuff like that. It's also worth noting the amount of work it took to install all these lights. It took hours and hours and hours. I wanted each shelf to have an outline with lights, and I wanted each of the four things that hold up the shelf, legs or whatever you call them, I wanted each of those to be lined with one string of lights as well. And I didn't want too much overlap, so I had to jot down the design on paper and then string up the lights in a certain way. And even though it has adhesive on it, I had to use a lot of twisty ties. It's hard to attach something onto chrome, but luckily with these wire shelves, I can hang something on the chrome, and that works pretty well. So all that work I put in is going to be undone, and once these are removed, I'm going to throw them away. Why do that? Because I don't feel safe giving them out or selling them. Like I said, these things feel cheap, and to hang them up, I had to bend them in certain ways. So I think that might weaken them or whatever. Like I mentioned, some of these lights have malfunctioned, so I've already had to throw some of them out. The bottom line is I don't feel safe with someone hanging my used lights inside their house. I don't want to endanger someone's life. The good news is that removing them is going to be a lot easier than it was to put them up. I can cut them very easily. I'm going to use some hedge clippers because they can reach deep into the setup and cut something. Man, this would make a good thumbnail. It's going to be very messy. There are hundreds of those twisty ties. I'm going to have to untwist a lot of them to fully get the lights off. I have a prediction that there's going to be people in the comments saying that this is not safe. I'm going to electrocute myself. Well, I have all the lights turned off, and I'm also going to unplug them from the rack mount power supply. But there's going to be people who are skipping through this part of the video, so they're going to miss this part. When I do get those comments, I'm going to give them a heart, so be on the lookout for those. So now the removal begins. Unfortunately, I have to use some of the free music that YouTube gives to its creators. I no longer use tunes from actual retro video games anymore because I've gotten some copyright claims recently for some very old music, including some from Toe Jam and Earl and games like that. So I just want to future-proof this video. But anyway, enjoy the montage. And I have completed the process. The floor is a mess, but the setup looks a lot better now. I no longer have white strands inside the chrome throughout the setup. The wiring is slightly less complex now. In the future, I may get LED lights again, but they'll be quite different if I go through with it. There's a lot of cool new things that are coming out right now. At least they're new to me. Panels that you hang on the wall. I may not embed them in with the setup like I did before, but I can put lights in other areas of the room and stuff like that. I probably won't be doing that anytime soon though. And that's all I have to say about it. I hope you enjoyed this video. May your games make you happy and smart, and may people respect you for playing them. So long, everybody.